Someone wants a car that is a practical, grocery getter, quiet type of car with a lot of horsepower. You might say a Cadillac CTSV or even a Bentley. Nah, it's actually a BMW. Now, some of you already may know this, but like many grocery cars, there are some that are just unheard of. Now, for those of you who don't know what this car is, this is the car that nearly killed BMW, figuratively anyway. In 1957, BMW revised their flagship 507 to include rear cabin space and changed minor details to refine the model. The BMW 507, the roadster was produced from BMW in 1956-1959, initially intended to be exported to the United States as a rate for making thousands per year, but ended up being too expensive, resulting in total production figures of 252 cars and a heavy loss for BMW. Now, speaking of heavy loss, this thing pumped at about 140 horsepower. Now, as mentioned, from those 140 horsepower anyway, for those of you all know, mentioned earlier, that turns out that came from a 3.2 liter V8, which is 193 cubic inches. That wears to about 5,000 RPM. Yes, 5,000, bro. So, it definitely deserves a spot in this list, considering it's also one of the first sports cars from BMW. The sports cars did not stop there from BMW. Obviously, the car company has many years under its belt, and ain't no new kid on the block for making sports cars and sports coupes in general. But one that was definitely underrated was the 1979 BMW 635 CSI, which is the most powerful version of the first generation 6 series of the coupe, with an inline 6. And the successful BMW 3-liter CS at the beginning of the 1970s was a German company needed for replacement. Paul Bragg designed a new vehicle based on the already existing platform of the M5 series. That's right, the 5 series. So he basically took that 5 series chassis and put it in that big coupe, existing the platform BMW series, which allowed for the use of the 4 and 6-cylinder engines. But for performance coupe, BMW didn't want to use the same inline 4, and only chose the inline 6 units, which is also used for racing, which we're going to talk about in the next car.
Okay.
This most definitely deserves a spot on this list because of the same sharp nose design. They were unique design back in the day, and just a big coupe in general. Pretty odd for BMW. And a lot of power. They delivers 218 horsepower when most cars at the time had 100 horsepower less. Alright, so now it's 1980. Now it's likely the most attractive time for anything. I mean, the disco music, the hairstyles, the cars. But speaking of cars, BMW never disappoints and always makes waves in the ocean. Now, the BMW M1 is the foremost expression of automotive art, and the M1 was also intended to win races. The car's name personifies its statue. M designates all BMW engineering projects of its substance, and 1 signifies the project's importance in the BMW engineering history. Now, with that being said, between the birth of the M1 concept in mid-1975 and the M production of December 1980, the M1 was created to represent BMW in a new manufacturing championship, based on cars of production side houses. Now, before the M1 could take the field, however, the public opinion had swung away from the pre-built prototype and sports car production in the 1970s. So they partnered with Italian Lamborghini division, and they basically put that inline 6 in there, along with Lancia to help out, since they were making inline 6 as well. And Ferrari, bro. Now, the last one was a joke, but Lamborghini and Lancia did it nonetheless. In 1979, it unveiled in the Geneva Model Show, and it was just automotive art, to say the least. Now, BMW Motorsport clearly knows the recipe and success for Group A road racing after the 47 European Touring Car Championship at an event this year in 1988, and the M3 had already clinched the title. The M3's racing heritage is immediately apparent to the steroid-injected bodywork. I mean, just look at that thing. It looked like a beefed-up M2 that skipped leg day. But the body flares, the spoilers, and the M3 were quick and push of a boy and girl. That was the customers anyway. Racing. This is what you would call the macho power from BMW. I mean, when this thing raced the Grand Prix, it would become one of the most iconic BMWs to ever live. One of the most iconic. This thing turns about 192 horsepower with a 4-cylinder, but you can offer the 6-cylinder with the M-Power, which was the racing engine which you did race in the Grand Prix. 6,750 RPM, bro. 2.3 liter, you're right. And the M3's ferocious torque. Oh my god. Okay, if you literally have the same car but just a different year, that's more than capable of something, and it's underrated from the same car company, then you know something's going on here. What's really good? It's a 325i, which means its original owner shelled out an extra to into the entry-level 380i's Wheezy 4-cylinder, but smooth operation, and BMW switched it out for, you guessed it, an inline-6 that raced the Grand Prix. It's also equipped with a special appearance package that combined their racy M3-inspired looks with the M10 package. So now that they're adding more and more options in the years, this is amazing. And the 320i convertible is something also to talk about, with an overfunction. But you could definitely take the fact this example of 5-speed models. And the 4-speed automatic definitely made some ways, but it wasn't too really reliable. This thing could be tuned up to 700 horsepower. Yes, we might as well just start talking about the tuning stages of this now, since we're getting more and more into the years.
Giggity, 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 ooh.
Which makes this all the more reason to be on this list. Okay, now you know I had to do this one. This is probably one of my favorite on the list. It's the 1997 to 2001 BMW 7 Series. You have to get the 97. It's one of the best. Big cars are not supposed to be agile, but the BMW 7 Series sedans hustle down to the windy roads like some 2-seat roasters. It might as well just be a Ferrari. Now, the BMW 740i and the 750iL is powered by a 4.4-liter V8, which will live on all the way till today, actually, equipped with an optional sport package with great handling. It's a luxury car for the enthusiast, basically a muscle car for the gentleman. And to go along with that V8, it had a great sound system with a 6 CD changer and 14-speaker subwoofers. Now, I know some of y'all probably don't know what that is, and I'm probably too old to tell you this, but that was the thing back in the day. I mean, a 6 CD changer, you could listen to 6 songs, bro, and not having to change your music. And prices do get a little bit pricey since the MSRP was about $124,000 in 1997 and 2001, which is a bit more than the new F90 if I'm going to be honest. But you can get this thing for $7,000 now, so pocket change. It can potentially reach speeds over 161 miles per hour, all wrapped around a 7-way power seat, memory seat, and massaging seat cocoon. Now, we'll go a little easier on the tuning stages of this as far as tuning goes, but let's just say it can get up there. Now it's time for probably the most underrated BMW. And personally, my personal favorite. Now, I know what you may be thinking before we start this. Wait, what about the 1957 507 that we did way earlier? Well, let me tell you, as a car enthusiast and a car junkie, it is way more easier to tune old cars than new cars. Now, the 2023 BMW M5 F90 returns with a simplified lineup and undiminished need for speed. Tuned by BMW's legendary M division, which we covered earlier, the M5 combines everyday usability with prestigious performance, a grocery getter, and a 1,300 horsepower tune-up at the same time. It's grown heavier over the years, but still a uniquely enticing sports sedan. The competition upgrades, now available as package, shifted point upholstery options. When it made its debut back in 2017, this generation of BMW ruffled some of the features. It's heavy, and it comes with all-wheel drive, much like other German cars. Underneath, the same M5 we know and love, the transmission and powertrain all together. We all love the blistering acceleration, and the M5 is still a beast in the corners. I mean, it just zips in the corners. We all miss the world-beating CS, but even the M5 is performance that most drivers will need. Even better, the M5 lacks the M3's yawning grille, which I thank God that BMW didn't make a huge massive grille for this. It looks so good and so sexy. We do miss the lightness of the M models in some ways, but the M5 is close to the M6 more than Vince's M5, and the steering still lacks the feedback that we're looking for. We wish BMW to have to pipe the V8 notes to the cabin. I mean, it sounds nice, but what if we're going for a nice cruise? You don't want to hear some of the burbles. Now, it's hard to argue with the M5's performance, and it's even hard to argue with the behind the wheel. But make no doubt, this is a real M5. Miles per gallon is about 20, and they have the same 4.4-liter V8 that's been out since 1991. And it makes about 600 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. But as I said earlier, this can make about 1,300 horsepower or 1,500 horsepower. I really want to get crazy with this, man.
Go stupid. Oh, go crazy. Yeah. Go stupid. Go crazy.
Now, till next time, bro.